Hey there, YouTubers. I'm going to do more of what I've been doing. This is, by the way, mid-September 2019. What's going on in the world right now is the big Saudi oil refinery Aramco conflagration. And, well, let me go straight. I'm going to do the two things I usually do. I'm going to scroll a little bit through Facebook, my own account, and then profile, as they say, timeline. I used to write about scrolling reading reading programs. I mail these around. Maybe if you're watching this and you have any copies, I don't know that I do anymore, but I used to think I called these reading programs and I'd have an arrow pointing down with the word scroll. And little did I know that, now here in 2019, that's what we do. We scroll down. Life is scrolling down. Down is towards the past, usually we think, and up is towards the future. You can play with these things. There's also left and right. You'll see on Flickr I get confused sometimes. This was funny, by the way. This is what Facebook has a lot of stuff like this, right? Little looping clips. And in a way, we're sharing experience. We can all empathize, right? She drops her phone. Oh, bad. And then my fishing pole breaks just when I was catching something. This day has gone so bad, right? We understand why she throws the chair. This is like a philosophical movie. She's just angry. And then here's one of a parrot throwing food to a dog, all right? So just sampling Facebook is what I'm doing. And where I'm heading is exactly to this. An article about a First Earth Battalion. And, I don't know if I've heard about this before or not. There's those kinds of things. It looks like Men Who Stare at Goats, right? That movie. It's that kind of thing. And I was kind of attracted by some of the hand drawings, especially this vector equilibrium. Clearly Bucky Fuller's influence. But then it says, like Fuller's, tensivity, right? Tensivity, not tensegrity. So I take that as, from my point of view, that's a bit of a heresy to say that. That's not a word we know, but who's the kettle to call the pot black or whatever, right? When it comes to strange word usage. So see if you can find this. I think I've shown you enough search words that it's probably easy to find. Interesting stuff. I haven't gone over it with a fine-tooth comb. But what it leads me to back to the Gulf and stuff and the imminent, destruction of infrastructure of any kind, it now feels like a self-inflicted wound because we've come to see the planet as this fragile wholeness that's just clinging to life, trying to make a go of it. And if it has lupus, that's where your immune system attacks itself. It's like humans can't get over this thing of destroying themselves. They keep blowing up their own stuff and killing people and stuff. They're self-destructive in a major way. And we just notice that as a planet now. We're kind of like, oh, we're very self-destructive. We're pretty sick. Pretty sick. And we're not sure what the cure is going to be because it looks like we tried religion and it didn't work. And so now what? Science just gives us better tools for self-destruction. So philosophy, I don't know. Philosophy never gets anywhere. And that brings me to YouTube, where I've been, I guess, enjoying filling in the gaps, right? Because I did do a 1970s philosophy track in Princeton where I got big names, Kaufman, Rorty. I knew and interacted with these people one-on-one sometimes. I mean, I feel very privileged. I'm going to use that word as like in gratitude. But, I didn't get to rub shoulders with every cool philosophy guy out there. And this guy, Rick Roderick, I'm like just discovering him, and he's really well known. Like a lot of people know exactly who this guy is and spend a lot of time with him. You can see my viewing history here. I find it's useful to share it, right? Like instead of saying I'm worried that people are spying on me, I get on YouTube and like share my Jimmy Dore is there, yes, and I know RT is over here, right? I'll just say a few words about RT. This is all related, by the way, because the idea of a First Earth Battalion and that feeling of, okay, so do we retaliate by inflicting more self-damage? You know, it is a conundrum. I think consolidate gains in ideological space, or like get the cyber victories out of whatever, is the best strategy, right? It's not great to destroy more oil generating, or, you know, we have precious little time to waste with the remaining peak oil, right? And to just blow it all up right now is kind of not in the business interests of anybody. So funding for a major self-infliction, you know, it might be like we're just having a bad day though, as planet Earth. Things can feel like this sometimes. So I'm trying to keep it together for you here. But about RT, see, I wasn't one of those people who was super upset to find that there was these troll farms trying to plant memes to cause people to think different, because duh, right? Of course, that's what people do. Call them trolls if you want. So it's Troll Planet as far as I'm concerned. Who's not a troll? I know, there are proud people out there. But you know, I grew up around cute trolls, right? Not movie trolls. They were real cute. So, you know. Uh, so it never offended me that, you know, there might be Russians uh, trying to do stuff on Facebook. It's like, duh, of course. And I think of Facebook as a global resource. And it's not just Russians. There's Ugandans, Israelis. We all talk about, you know, these players, and that's fun. But, you know, let's not forget New Zealand, right? Shout out. I really appreciate New Zealand. They're not all hobbits there. I know that's a stereotype. All right, so yeah, RT is fine with me. I don't have any problem with what you want to call propaganda. It's like, it doesn't bother me that we use propaganda. People don't want to equate that with advertising. Advertising is good. That's good. That's all American. That's red-blooded. But propaganda is what those bad people do. And I go back to Latin and, you know, Catholic Church, and you've got basically job titles like Minister of Propaganda and Minister of Censorship, right? And they're bold about it because they're just speaking Latin and they're just doing what we do. Oh yeah, the government censors, of course. We're talking Roman fascism here. I mean, this was not used to be a question that the government would censor. It's kind of new with the American system that the government would not usually try not to, that kind of stuff. Even those reflexes of not wanting to, right? That's kind of a new idea. And we fight for that. We like more freedom, right? That's what we want. More freedom to play video games and surf YouTube, right? That's the quote postmodern world that Rick Roderick is telling us we're heading into, based on his reading of continental philosophy. And I'll end with that to condense it down. I recommend these other, where's that summary? This one, where we're talking about Leibniz, whatever, and Spinoza, with Brian McGee talks to Anthony Quinton about Spinoza and Leibniz. That's a really good one, partly because of all the big names that get into that in one big conversation. Descartes, Newton gets mentioned even, right? I don't think I've mentioned Bucky Fuller yet in this video, which is almost a record, but see, my project here to tie this up, I mean, I did mention him, right, with regard to this picture. But he's got a metaphysics, and I know that's not popular in philosophy right now, but there are interesting uses of the word metaphysical that I think even a scientist could use if they wanted to. It's not off limits to say mastery of principles results in less waste, and we could call lower entropy is higher something else. And you want to call it something, call it syntropy. And if you want to say syntropy is like metaphysical capital, like if you don't know how to build computers or what they do, you can have all the metal lying around you want. You're not going to build a computer. and yet it would save the day in some Deus Ex Machina way in some science fiction story. So when the spaceships land and they build a computer, well, wow, they knew how, so good for them. I'm just saying they have more metaphysical capabilities when they can build computers. And we would say, well, that's not supernatural. And I'm saying, duh, right? Metaphysical doesn't mean supernatural. It means you're talking above the level of physics a little bit, right? Maybe values are involved, stuff like that. No big deal. It's an English word. English is fine. I criticize English a lot because I look around for why people still believe in certain things like race. I mean, I can understand the meaning, but let's talk about meaning. Let's do a Wittgensteinian analysis of the word race, just to prove we've read some Wittgenstein. I'm talking to philosophers here. Not because you want to talk about race in particular, but you do want to show how to investigate and do philosophy. And maybe we'll get race out of it more. Can't think we could purge it entirely, but let's think about it. All right. Talk to you soon.